So if you think the way that South Africans bank today will look the same in 5 years, think again. Today we're unpacking how this shift is already taking place, the new traffic rules set to land in December, and why government is hanging on to a last-minute call from Washington. Plus, in the Wildcard, the colorful story behind Cape Town's most Instagram neighborhood. My friends, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to like and subscribe. And now, with all that out the way, let's get into it. So the end of banking as South Africans know it may be closer than you think. You see, a wave of digital banks have already started rewriting the rules, and the biggest challenger is yet to enter the game. So TymeBank has signed up millions of lower-income customers with low-cost accounts, Discovery has built a niche around higher-income clients, and Bank Zero is trying to reinvent the whole model from scratch. Now, together they've shown that South Africans are ready to ditch branches for apps, and as a result, rattling the big four banks, which are now scrambling to upgrade their digital platforms. So now the competition is about to escalate. You see, London-based Revolut, the world's most valuable digital-only bank with $75 billion, has chosen South Africa as its first African market. Backed by a $13 billion expansion drive, the company wants to reach 100 million customers by 2027. So founded in 2015 as a low-cost money transfer app, Revolut has grown into a financial super app with 65 million users. Now, if our local regulators approve its banking license, that full playbook from accounts, loans, forex, and investments could land here. And with its unparalleled war chest and global reach, it has the potential to redefine what digital banking looks like in South Africa. In just 2 months, South Africa's roads are going to be under a new set of rules. You see, from the 1st of December, the long-delayed administrative adjudication of road traffic offences, or AUTO, goes national after 17 years of testing in Johannesburg and Tshwane. So the rollout will see 69 municipalities adopt a new system, changing how fines are handled. So, for example, minor infringements will now go through an admin process, while more serious offences will still go to court. Then, the most controversial, the merit system, which could see licenses suspended for repeat offenders, only kicks in next year, September, but it already looms as the most hotly debated feature. And look, it all comes at a tricky time. You see, more than 330,000 motorists are still waiting for new license cards after yet another breakdown from our country's only printing machine. Government has confirmed that expired cards do remain valid for 3 months if you applied before the deadline and have kept the receipt. But with AUTO taking effect this December, motorists will now be juggling license backlogs, fines, and new compliance rules all at once. So if it feels like we're always talking about tariffs and trade deals with the US, that's because we are. And here we go again. You see, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, also known as AGOA, is about to expire with just 1 day left on the clock. So unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that South Africa's been on shaky ground since Washington slapped a 30% tariff on our exports earlier this year. And look, it has crippled industries like auto, agriculture, and wine. It sent business confidence sliding and put local investment on ice. Economists say that fixed capital spending needs to climb back towards 20% of GDP if government hopes to hit a 3% growth target. But right now, it's stuck closer to 15%. So Pretoria has tried to patch things up by offering the US more access to pork and poultry, and even the promise to buy American gas. But Washington's counterpoints go far beyond chickens and gas. They're pushing back on South Africa's digital tax regime and even wants US companies exempt from BEE rules. Now, all of this makes the outcome even murkier, with South Africa's biggest trade advantage now resting on a last-minute call from President Trump. A decision that could literally come hours before the deadline. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, Eskom has declared Kusele's Unit 6 is fully operational, completing the mega build alongside Medupi. Together, the plants now deliver 9,600 megawatts, lifting Eskom's energy availability above 70%, levels at which load shedding shouldn't even be on the table. Housing prices have hit a 3-year high in August, rising to 4.5% year on year. The Western Cape still leads, but Gauteng and KZN are catching up. Banks, however, remain cautious, with mortgage lending barely moving despite steady demand. And government is drafting a national plan to tackle elephant overpopulation, with some local game reserves holding more than triple the optimal numbers. Now, options are on the table from contraception to culling, and it is sparking fierce debate. And on to our bagel bite of the day. Let's see what you got. The question is, who painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel? Was it A, Leonardo da Vinci, B, Michelangelo, or C, Raphael? We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. And on to our wildcard section. If you've ever scrolled through a local travel feed, you've seen them. The rows of candy-colored houses climbing the slopes of Signal Hill. You see, the Boerkop is one of Cape Town's most photographed neighborhoods, a tourist hotspot where cobbled streets meet Cape Dutch and Georgian facades. But those bright pinks, blues, and yellows aren't just for Instagram. You see, back in the 1760s, when the area was still called the Malay Quarter, the houses were built as rental units for slaves brought in from Malaysia, Indonesia, and across Africa. And under Dutch colonial rule, every house had to be painted white. And so when that restriction was finally lifted and families were allowed to buy their own homes, the first thing they did was splash color on them, a bold expression of ownership, pride, and freedom. So today, those colorful walls tell a story louder than any tour guide. They're not just pretty backdrops, they're also a living symbol of resilience, culture, and a community still shaping Cape Town's identity. And as for that bagel bite, the answer is Michelangelo. He spent 4 grueling years covering the Sistine Chapel ceiling with more than 300 figures across 500 square meters, even though he considered himself a sculptor and not a painter. Ironically, the job he never wanted became one of the most celebrated masterpieces in history. And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in until the very end. Hope you guys have all had a great start to the week. Be kind to one another, and I'll catch you guys all tomorrow for round 3. God bless.